Welcome to another episode of Fill in the Blank. I'm here with Gabe Jarman.
What's up?
Gabe, take that pillow out of your lap. You look like a child.
I am a child.
We're here to talk about the Center for the Study of Existential Risk. What comes to your mind when I say the Center for the Study of Existential Risk?
Terminator.
Terminator. What's your idea on Terminator? That
Evil
one day
robot.
Skynet's going to happen?
Evil robot.
Well, this group, it's actually a research center at the University of Cambridge intended to study possible extinction-level threats posed by present or future technology. The co-founders of the center are Huw Price, Bertrand Russell, Professor of Philosophy at Cambridge, Lord Martin Rees, the Astronomer Royal and former President of the Royal Society, and Jaan Tallinn, co-founder of Skype. Wow, so the co-founder of Skype is in a giant certified basically organization that focuses on studying AI and making sure they're not going to take over the world.
Yeah.
What's your idea on that, considering he runs probably one of the most communicative technological resources we have to communicate with people from all around, basically like a cell phone?
Very interesting.
Interesting?
It's
Really?
pretty interesting.
Robots are going to take over the world and you just say interesting?
Yeah, man.
Well, existential risk is where humankind as a whole is basically in peril, having major consequences for the course of human civilization. There is a difference between existential risk and global crisis or risk. The difference is a global disaster has an outcome or possibility of recovering, while existential risk has a definition that is concluded with all intelligent organic life is eliminated by progressing AI. So the idea is evident with the fact as technology progresses, we don't have a system that monitors the sixth category of risk for human survival. So we don't have this group was kind of created to focus on AI becoming advanced and self-thinking, being able to progress. We had two computers and basically developed, I think it was like the year 2000 something, there were two smart computers that actually began coding and talking to each other in a language we did not understand. And at that point we shut it down and did not pick up the project again. The whole idea is how fast are we going to produce technology and how quick until it decides to create its own code, and next thing you know, they're going to be taking over the world. They're going to look at you, these robot superiors, and see their little buddy you have that you keep trying to text on and be like, oh, you have him as a slave, we're going to have you as a slave. Imagine Transformers coming down if they weren't turning into cars and they were turning into simple electronics. The world's run by technology. How would you function without technology? How would you function without your phone for 5 minutes? You can barely do that when we're trying to do this podcast.
That's because I just don't like it sitting on the floor.
No, it's because you want to look at everybody that's texting you and Snapchatting you. You just said that 5 minutes ago.
That's because I'm an important person that people like to talk to.
You're important to everyone, and you're also important to the podcast. So respect it by not using technology.
As we're using technology to record.
Exactly. The irony is clear. So, managing extreme technological risks are their area of focus. Risks associated with emerging and future technological advances and impacts of human activity. Managing these extreme technological risks is an urgent task, but one that poses particular difficulties and has been comparatively neglected in academia. So CSER researchers developed a widely used tool to automatically scan the scientific literature for new research relevant to global risk. CSER has also held 2 international Cambridge conferences on catastrophic risk. The center has also advised on the establishment of global risk projects at the Australia National University, the University of California and Los Angeles, and the University of Warwick. Not the college where I graduated from, a different one that looks a little bit more Hungarian spelled. It's spelled like World of Warcraft. So CSER helped establish the first all-party parliamentary group on future generations in the United Kingdom Parliament, bringing global risk and long-term thinking to UK political leaders. CSER has held over 30 workshops bringing together academia, policy, and industry on topics including cybersecurity, nuclear security, climate change, and gene drives. What would you do if Alexa... You went to go tell her, Alexa, turn on the lights. She said, no. I said, Alexa, turn on the lights. No. What do you mean, no?
Unplugged.
What do you mean, no?
I unplugged that shit in an instant. So
Imagine if you had to get up and flick on the light switch. Imagine if you had to actually flush your toilet. Imagine that.
If you have to tell Alexa to flush her own toilet, you just Alexa.
Say that to my buddy who has Alexa flush his toilet.
Is that actually true?
Yes.
That's sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many things are now Wi-Fi accessible? You can now access USB outlets and power ports using a Wi-Fi signal. Did you know that?
No.
They have a thing you can buy on Amazon for $8. It's like a wall socket thing. Looks like the thing that's already built into the wall. You just plug that in there. Controls through Wi-Fi. So you can control it on your phone. And you can choose whether you want electricity to go through that and charge whatever device is hooked up to it. We have self-charging batteries that are able for people that are on their phone 24/7 that die like in the first 3 hours of the day because they're just on it so much, Instagramming, Facebooking, whatever they're doing to post the status and no one gives a crap about. As soon as they do that, like they have a battery that charges their phone so they can keep going all day until that battery dies. Next thing you know, their phone battery's dead. And next thing you know, bam, bam, bam. One thing after another. We're so reliant on technology. We're always so reliant. Like, there's people that are relying on social media, man. They feel like if they don't make a post every single day and everybody doesn't know what they're doing, what they're up to, what they're taking a picture of, then, they're lost. They crave that like button. They crave that Instagram like. I think everyone does at some point. But the whole idea is that you want acceptance. You want approval from somebody. Well, CSER public lectures have been viewed over 100,000 times online. I find that very ironic that the warning of computer AI is taking over is only viewed online and not actually going to be seen. So, the first style of this type of risk didn't occur until the mid-20th century. This was the man-made creation of the atom bomb, where it was thought that this type of destructive warfare might start a chain reaction by igniting the atmosphere. They believed that was a global risk. The rise or need for this type of group to study or observe the risk grew more of a priority as we progressed in nuclear warfare. Being able that if our bombs were one day automatic, be able to control, like, self-piloted, like, oh, it's going to nuke itself, no one has to drop it anywhere, it's just going to launch itself and pilot itself there. Who's to say that someone can't hack into that and turn around? Or we piss off the computer being like, stupid piece of crap, hit it, and then it turns on like we do with a lot of our electronics. Sometimes you got to give it a nice little pat or a nice little quick hit. Like the vending machine, you see the little Snickers bar hanging, you just decide to try and tip that sucker over. And, that bomb goes up after you hit it and called it stupid or something, and next thing you know, the computer starts self-thinking and turns around and goes, I'm going to fly back down to where you just launched me at and explode there. Next thing you know, you're gone. This program monitors the risk factors of certain technological advances. So in a term, playing devil's advocate of technology, this means preventing a problem before it occurs, deferring them from most programs that focuses on recovering after global or other risk. So Existential Center that studies for this risk really kind of is just, they want technology to progress, but they want to make sure it's going in the right directions. Because honestly, we're working so fast and so quick that, like, I know those are both the same thing, but the whole idea is that we're creating so much at such a fast rate that we're not paying attention to the certain risks that might happen, to security things that get breached. There's everything coming out about hackers. There's new stuff, new programs coming out. People are easily hackable. Like, my grandmom can work an iPad. Like, the whole idea, like, people are becoming more influenced on technology, not really to the basis of things. I've had so many people, I can compare this with my podcast, so many people talk about how, why don't we just do it over the phone? No, because you're missing the conversation in the real moment that you have in the conversation. It's the reason why I don't like to edit a lot of my podcasts. The coughing, all that stuff that's in there, or the stupid side play, the stupid side off banter where you totally lose concept of the subject that you were just talking about. It's that whole need for that you need in a podcast, because it shows real moments and it allows the audience to connect. Whether some people are like, well, you can just cut out all that bullcrap. No, you can't, because you're missing key moments on the conversation. 1 minute there's a moment, and the next thing you know, you got it on tape. It's like AFV. Was I just recording? Yeah. Well, you're about to win $1 million. So, not for this podcast, though. You just get like a sticker and like a pat on the back.
I take a sticker.
Okay. I had a sticker earlier. Well, let's talk about some global catastrophic biological risks. In 2017, CSER convened policymakers and academics to identify challenges for the Biological Weapons Convention, the BWC. A key issue identified that was the rapid rate of progress in relevant sciences and technologies has made it very difficult for governance bodies, including the BWC, to keep pace. So the idea that we're producing technology so fast that the government that's supposed to be regulating this stuff and monitoring it, making sure it's not going to go crazy and kill us all, is not able to keep up with how fast we're producing it. See, that's why we need to slow down. We should not be on the iPhone 10 right now. I guarantee you by the time this podcast is only a month old, it's going to be freaking iPhone 30. Elon Musk is already launching cars into space. What's to stop the freaking car just deciding to go autopilot and self-navigate?
The car does have autopilot.
It's going to self-drive itself down to Japan and start a war with all of us. So extreme risk in global environment. Lord Martin Rees and Sir Partha Dasgupta, a senior advisor, has co-organized a series of influential workshops with the Vatican. The 2015 workshop influenced the Papal Encyclical on Climate Change, which in turn influenced the Paris Agreement on Climate Change. The 2017 workshop's findings will soon be published as a book on biological extinction. CSER researchers have published on biodiversity loss and governance in nature, the environmental impact of high-yield farming and prospects for geoengineering. Now I just got really like a weird idea. Imagine that vape that you have. You decide to upgrade its firmware. Next thing you know, a virus, which is like a self-thinking AI, gets in there and decides to blow it up. What's to stop someone from sending a code to your phone and blowing up your phone in your eyes? Or not in your eyes, but in your ear. Huh?
Blowing what up?
Blowing your phone up in your ear when you go to pick it up and answer a call. Someone just decides to send a code. Like the AOL thing that goes up.
Oh, wow.
Right in your ear.
Rupture your eardrum.
Trying to think of that. Like, how much do we know about EMPs and people hacking Teslas and crashing them into stuff to kill somebody? When an EMP can shut down all technology, imagine if we advance so much to where an EMP can set down you know how your nervous system is electrical? Shut that down. Someone can send a code into your Wi-Fi thing that's plugged into your outlet that boosts your signal in your house. Next thing you know, it lets off a frequency that shuts off your whole central nervous system. And next thing you know, you're knocked out in the house. They just come and steal all your shit.
I wouldn't doubt that would happen soon, but I'm pretty sure it'd probably be stolen from like police. I'm pretty sure police would probably start using that.
Do you think it's a prominent
like
thing?
Like neural gas?
Yeah, but do you think it's a prominent thing that one day we're going to have to fear technology rising up above us?
Probably.
I mean, are you in fear of robots taking over? I'm starting to think about that more, and the faster we progress through technology. I mean,
maybe, but I mean, we already have fucking like robots that are up and moving around and stuff.
Yeah, you can knock it down and then it gets right back up. How many times are you gonna knock it down before that thing just grabs your foot and twists it?
I mean, yeah, maybe. I mean, we have like they have like the robotic like four-legged thing that can open a door, and then you can try and pull on it, and it'll, you know, kind of like get itself back up and open the door and get itself through and close it.
Yeah. Sooner or
later,
we have start turning into armor.
We have that girl robot that they made that can talk.
I don't want to know about this. This is not Ex Machina. We're not there yet.
I'm being serious.
Down.
That's a serious thing. I think her name's like Sophia. And she you can ask her questions and she'll respond. She acts like she has emotions.
Why don't we fix Siri? Because she doesn't understand half the things I say half the time. Did you want to call Jordan? No! I want to know where my house is. Did you want to call 911? If they could tell me where my house is. So, I mean, with CSRE researchers have published on biodiversity loss and governance in nature, the environmental impact of high-yield farming and prospects for geoengineering. So the whole idea is we're using these types of genetics and types of modulations and technologies, nanobots, all these types of things to grow limbs back, to grow better fruit, GMO foods. How far until we send in this chemical by trying to change like this genetic makeup or something and the computer decides to change it and poison all of our food, poison our cells in our body by, we're injecting, people are eventually going to start injecting chips into themselves. I mean, there's already one guy that was known to have a type of psychic power because he developed a chip that responded to, like, when he got near a door, it would open up and all these types of things. Certain doors, obviously, stuff that was already coded for it. And he installed it. It was a transponder. He installed it in himself and was able to, like, people thought he had mystical powers. Like, he was fooling everybody for, like, the first week. And it's like, to think, how often do we chip babies to find out where they are if they ever get lost? That happens. There's people that are adults that have chips in them from this type of thing that happened a while ago. It's hard to think that someone can't one day, if I offered you a chip to make sure that you can learn a book in a minute, you can learn anything you want, teach yourself anything in a minute, any song, anything, you're going to want that chip. You're going to be like, that's going to give me a huge advantage rather than reading everything and going to the basis of things. Then someone can hack that chip one day and decide to explode it in your brain. Next thing you know, you're dead. Was that chip worth it? Just because you got how much time with all this information, but it doesn't even matter in the end because you're gone? It's crazy to think, man, where technology is advancing, it's going to keep progressing in a way that is awesome and it's scary. I think we need to focus on more of what we have already and try and focus on improving it before we try diving into deeper and deeper progressive things. You can't create a 2.0 if the 1.0 doesn't work as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, before you start adding on, oh, well, now it comes with cup holders. Why don't you try fixing it from exploding so not, my grandma doesn't light herself on fire? You know what I mean? So, CSER researchers published a report calling for business school rankings to include sustainability. 4 days later, the Financial Times announced a complete review of our methodology. So, the whole idea is schools, technology is advancing in a good way for them. Kids are now having laptops and be able to use virtual reality to go on field trips. Like, the middle school down here just had a virtual reality trip to the Anne Frank Museum. Like, the whole idea, like, you're missing the key aspect of going on a field trip. Those 7 a.m. rides on the bus where you're not really wanting to sit next to anybody, end up getting stuck next to the smelly kid that's farting the whole time, asking where his bologna sandwich is. Like, the whole idea, like, those are the fun moments. You get to travel with friends and create these real experiences. When you're trying to experience it through goggles, yeah, it's fun. And I do think there's certain scenarios where virtual reality is helpful, like surgeries. Like, they're using that to predict different scenarios and have doctors experience scenarios without them actually having to experience it, so they can get the thing on hand experience. It's just, it's amazing where we're progressing with it, but we're also focused on trying to create something that is like a God representation, where like we're chasing after this belief, and it's one day gonna probably might overpower us. What's your idea of a robot that's going to take over? Like, what comes to your mind when I say a robot that's going to take over?
A robot that'll take over is probably when they try and make an AI.
Well, I mean, like, what's your idea? Like, example, like, describe them to me. I picture the Billy and Mandy version of the computer. I am all seeing. Well, what does it mean to life? Life has no meaning.
Mm-hmm. I think more of. Have you seen the movie 9?
Yeah.
I think of kind of it like that. Like, they build this supercomputer, and the military tries to militarize it, which then makes it hate humanity. And then it proceeds to create upgrades for itself, for everything, for all the other robots around it, and just, I mean, it killed all of humanity in that movie.
I mean, Terminator Salvation, all the robots are coming out now. Basically, all the Terminator movies. It's just the whole idea that if we try and weaponize something that is self-thinking and it's an AI intelligence, is a powerful force, we're going to try to put it on our side. We want that on our pocket to use against military efforts. And how long until that thing decides, they're people just like you. Why am I fighting for you when I could just be fighting for myself? And then starts creating a race. Like the whole idea of the Futurama episode where all the robots hated all the humans and wanted the humans to die and everything. Like, there's always going to be that, curiosity. If one day, like, we have that curiosity in conversations like me and you are having. There's obviously a thought, like, if there was a fight, who would win? You know what I mean? There's always that thing. Whenever you go anywhere in society, it's like that. It might not be like something you want to do, but it's just something that pops into your head. We all have this combative force that wants to try and seem like the most supreme power, in the room at least. Or at least, and that's what the United States does in the world. We want to seem like the supreme power. It seems like everybody wants to seem like the supreme. You should have been repping your supreme hat for this. And so let's talk about some risks from advanced artificial intelligence. In 2015, CSER helped organize a conference on the future directions of AI in Puerto Rico, resulting in an open letter on artificial intelligence signed by research leaders worldwide calling for research on ensuring that AI systems are safe and societally beneficial. In 2016, CSER launched its first spin-off, the Leverhulme Center for the Future of Intelligence, CFI, led by Professor Price. CFI focuses on the opportunities and challenges posed by AI. From 2017 onwards, CSER has organized a series of academic conferences bringing together decision theory and AI safety. In 2018, with partners from tech companies and security think tanks, CSER published a malicious use of artificial intelligence forecasting, preventing, and mitigation on the implications of AI for physical and cybersecurity. They also published an AI Race, Rhetoric, and Risks, which won the inaugural Best Paper Prize at the 2018 AAAI ACM AI Ethics and Society Conference. So, the idea that even in 2018, with this relevant information, we still are kind of focusing on making sure AI is not going to progress super, super far. I think that's beneficial, but I mean, how often are you going to be able to tell somebody a certain scientist working on something? You can't do that, and then they're actually going to listen to you and not chase after something they want to be given credit for. So, media coverage. CSER has been covered in many different newspapers, particularly in the United Kingdom, mostly covering different topics of interest. CSER was profiled on the front cover of Wired and in the special Frankenstein issue of Science in 2018. Some of the advisors are Sir Partha Dasgupta of Economics, winner of the Blue Planet Prize, Professor Susan Owens of Geography, Professor Bill Sutherland, Zoology, Professor Jane Heal of Physiology, and advisors such as Herman Holster, founder of Acorn Computers and ARM, and David Cleavey, telecommunications expert and Silicon Fen entrepreneur. And then, obviously, many others that study philosophy and artificial intelligence. So, your overall concept on technology. Give me your list of benefits and your list of negatives with it.
With technology?
Yeah.
The benefits is it makes, like, daily life easier. Like
Such things like what?
we have our phones, so if we ever need someone, we can just call them, text them, figure anything out. We have, with technology advancing, vehicles enhanced. So, like, my Jeep Renegade it has backup cameras, it has ways that I can just call you without actually having to pick my phone up and, cause an accident. I can just click the button and say, call, Robbie.
And why is that easier to be able to do that through your car instead of your phone?
Because that way you don't have to, you keep your eyes on the road while saying it, so that way it keeps you more aware, keeps you safer, rather than just, reaching over, picking your phone up, and then doing it through your phone, where you shouldn't be doing it at all.
What happens if we didn't have phones?
You
wouldn't have that problem in the first place.
Yeah.
It seems like every problem we have that technology has solved, technology created in the first place. Think about that. I just kind of came to that realization when you were saying that. A lot of the problems with technology, like, how did people live back then if technology wasn't back then? You know what I mean? How did our grandparents live without technology?
Miserably?
Well, that's what we think, but they didn't know what it was to have technology. Imagine if we didn't have this thing. We wouldn't know what it was like to have it, so life would be great. Life would be amazing. We'd probably be more connected as a society. It seems like older people are more connected, but sometimes get a little bit more closed off by just bad publications in the media. But the whole idea, like, if that technology wasn't created, we wouldn't have that problem that technology is fixing. It had to create something to fix its problem, so we would buy more into it. The whole idea, like, if we didn't have cell phones, we'd have to go out and communicate with people. Yeah, that limits our kind of range depending on where we travel from, but that might give you the reason to go travel some more. How easy is it now just to turn on your Xbox and be able to play video games with someone around the world than actually going to go to that place instead? Even though it might be funner to be there and experience that, you don't want to take the trip. Society's become lazy, and technology seems that's the only thing it has not fixed about itself. Is that how lazy we've become. We just keep progressing it to make our lives easier. One day you're going to be able to have a refrigerator that can teleport a drink up to you. I mean, there's a TV that hooks into your fridge. Did you know that? There's a thing, it's a glass door, so you can see the food inside, but also it can play like your baseball show while you're cooking. You can just screen it to that. And the whole idea that you can see inside your refrigerator without opening up the door, that screen, it can make it see-through. It can cover up, and then it can go see-through, like shades.
I hate that.
Isn't that ridiculous?
That's stupid.
They have LG TV, or not LG TVs. They have the same company that makes LG TVs. LG. They make refrigerators. They make washer machines. They make everything now. Lamps, stereos, all these types of things that you can control with your phone. You don't feel like, hitting the button on the washer after you literally had to walk and put all the clothes in the washer. They still haven't fixed that problem, but you can turn your washer on if you forget from upstairs. Yeah, that's helpful, but that really creates laziness. And that's a problem that technology has not fixed yet. They haven't fixed laziness. It's going to end up like WALL-E, man. There's going to be 800-pound people laying on beds that sit up
Sitting
for
in
us.
chairs saying that blue is the new red, and they just click a button and their clothing changes color.
The whole idea that we're just going to be, our bones are going to become useless. We're going to be giant things of jello. So it's hard to think technology one day isn't just going to try and keep us in this matrix type realm of living in a comfortable life while they just slowly wait in the wings and take over. Anybody that wants to listen to this episode of Fill in the Blank and kind of do a little bit more research on existential risk yourself, I take the time to look it up. It's definitely a warning, like kind of like global warming is in our inevitable future. You know, if we keep progressing and not focusing on certain things we need to improve here, well, let's just say we're all not going to become lazy and just let the robots take over. We're not going to fight back like in Terminator. Honestly, if Arnold's robot and he's leading the world, that's okay. Because I am the governor. Get to the chopper. All right, thanks for listening to this episode of Fill in the Blank, and stay tuned for the next episode.
See ya.